This commentary was recorded before the death of the director Michael Ferguson. It's Happy Times and Places. You're welcome. Please come in and listen to me, Toby Hadoke, musing about a particular episode of Doctor Who chosen by a friend of mine. I have to guess what their favourite things about the episode are as I commentate along.
Midway sending now, Canberra receiving now.
Yes, hello everybody. Toby, hi. I am Jaye Butler Moore, and I'm a local government minion in my working life, and a songwriter, and I'm on YouTube and SoundCloud and stuff, and I'm in a band called Dirge. But I'm here to talk about my 7 favourite things about the seeds of death.
Well, welcome everybody. It's time for the final instalment of The Seeds of Death, one of the very first Doctor Who stories to be released on VHS. It's been released a couple of times on DVD, but as yet not on Blu-ray. So who knows what delights will be in store for it then. But for now, it's being given the Happy Times and Places commentary treatment. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to press play in 3, 2, 1. Well, strictly speaking, I'm pressing select on episode selection. So, yeah, I didn't get any of this stuff when I first saw this. It just jumped from the end of episode 5 to the beginning of episode 6. So it's quite a surprise that this does a Perils of Pauline kind of cheat, because we last saw Jamie and Zoe being left behind in the weather centre by the Ice Warrior. I've had a bit of correspondence. Ding 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 ding. Bong bong dong 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 dong. And Sabrina Tirabassi, who is one of my valued patrons, says that the opening planets bits remind her a bit of Russell T Davies, because seasons would start, and in fact the very first thing we saw of Doctor Who when it came back was a pan into the Earth, slightly more sophisticated than what we see there, but I think those model shots work very nicely. So basically the Doctor is being beset by balloons and foam. Don't try this at home, even though you actually could. Foam with talcum powder in, I guess. So you could, yes, this is a great one. You could do all of this at home. Bath time must have been quite a laugh. So here we go. So this is what we saw last time. We saw an Ice Warrior approaching Jamie and Zoe, and then going away again. They do a lot of sort of walking up to things and then walking the other way. But now I think we get a lot of extra action. So in that, it is a bit like Planet of the Spiders, episode 6, where we literally get half an episode. But that was due more to timings being askew because of them not using footage that they'd shot, and so the timings were all over the place. That the entire episodes had to be sort of rejigged, whereas this is a slight cheat. I love the way the foam gets so high it actually blocks out the lighting. So yeah, we didn't get any of this with Jamie and Zoe. So obviously the cliffhanger was a bit more perilous for the Doctor, because the Ice Warrior was on its way. Jamie and Zoe were still in the weather control, and the Doctor was trapped behind the door. But he's now got ages in which to escape, thanks to Jamie doing that and Zoe being able to let him in. And I think she corpses, doesn't she, when she lets him in? Because Troughton is in a pesky mood this week, although that's not this week because he's on film. So that's the cliffhanger, which we got before we'd seen a lot of that stuff with Zoe and Jamie. So the interior of the door is on film as well. Just does look so much better, doesn't it? So she's going to let him in now. So we had none of that. So that's a big cheat, which Doctor Who didn't do that often. and you know, always used to, because we used to watch we didn't watch Perils of Pauline, but yes, so Wendy Padbury is guffawing away there. She's having a whale of a time. Oh, look at the way he waddles. He's brilliant. And I think she skids now as well, isn't she? So he will have had to have got covered in that just before they started shooting in the studio. And I think, doesn't she go, let's go this way, and then slips and runs the other way anyway? It's this way. No, I've slipped and I'm going the way you went anyway. Never work with children, animals, or foam. Hey, Jenny Linden, do you mean fire extinguisher? I wonder how many of you get that joke. Probably loads of you. If you're doing this, you're pretty extreme. If you're listening to this, you're pretty extreme. So what was I talking about? Yes. So I think we watched King of the Rocket Men and Daredevils of the Red Circle. They were the sort of Sunday... No, they were weekday. The BBC Two showed them about 6 o'clock, and they were the weekly cinema serials that, you'd see somebody fall off a cliff and you go, oh no, they've died because they've fallen off a cliff. And then the following week, it was just about to fall on a cliff. And then suddenly there would be loads of mattresses under the cliff. And actually the person stopped the cliff from being a cliff. And then the person didn't fall. I mean, they did so many things to mean that the cliffhanger was just a cheat, which Doctor Who, to its credit, doesn't do very often. But it does do there. That's not a... That's a very rare example of the cheat to get out of the cliffhanger. I like that, the way that it has the same mirrory effect on the door. Isn't it good actually? The Ice Warriors, they must have had a book, mustn't they, to go Ice Warrior Gun, Miralon, Ice Lord, Alan Bennion, just to keep continuity, because it's some years between appearances. Do you think they rung somebody up and say, how do we do the Ice Warriors guns? Or if somebody remembered? Because as I say, it's we keep an eye on these things, but Doctor Who has such a lack of consistency sometimes about titles and just the way that the episodes open. Indeed, because this has the planets thing, the Space Pirates has the black on white, which is rather beguiling. Then the War Games has the opening, and I like it. I like it that Doctor Who, doesn't have uniform things. I rather like that about recent Doctor Who, the Chibnall era. A bit of action here. I like this. This is episode 6, isn't it? There's machine guns, and those two are going to stand there and get killed. But yeah, this is great. This because, of course, it's the final episode, so you bring out the troops. And I like the fact they've gone some effort with the guns and to have the gas, whatever they are. It's just future gun things. And the Doctor kills the Ice Warrior as well, doesn't he? Yes. He's a nice chap, but he will murder. But somehow this isn't as offensive as the Doctor shooting the Ogrons in Day of the Daleks. I don't know why. I'm a hypocrite. I think it's because the third Doctor uses a gun, whereas using solar lights is somehow better. Disintegrating an Ogron with a gun is worse than melting an Ice Warrior with some lamps. That's my morality. But yeah, I do like about the Chibnall era that we've had a couple of times when the end music's been different. On Rosa there was that song, wasn't there, and Demons of the Punjab, they had a different arrangement of the theme, and actually when a couple of times in the first episode, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, we didn't have the opening titles and the opening music, but that was clever because it meant that we had that thing to discover the following week. There was another first night, if you like. So I like it when we tend to think of those sorts of inconsistencies. I love that, the ricochet effect. That is very, very cool. The way that the way that the Ice Warrior just goes, I got a carapace, matey, and it does the ricochet noise. But yes, I like it that Doctor Who doesn't do sort of uniformity. And fair enough, when I'm doing the podcasts, when I start doing it, I thought I have to do, get the music exactly the same and do the intro in exactly the same way. And because I think a little bit, on the we like all our spines to be the same, don't we? Come on, we're the only people from companies maybe not the only people, but the company that supplies us with our thing gives us reversible sleeves and caters to everyone. I think on the latest. On the missing episodes, you get an animation, you get a black and white animation, you get a telesnap recon, with narration and without narration. It's because someone go, well, I actually prefer it this way, and that's my voice when I'm being pedantic as well. We are like that, but isn't that extraordinary? I mean, we're arseholes, frankly. In fact, I have to have it in a particular way. When actually the show itself is not uniform. And what I can do for this episode, because I've released the first 4 episodes of this before I recorded the last 2, I've been quite busy. I got an unexpected job and my partner's not very well. I need a holiday. What I should do is I should get Tommy Laird to play me in a couple of episodes to buy me some time. But of course he wouldn't be able to say anything. So, Stephen White, there's a lot of correspondence about Miss Kelly. Stephen White has a massive crush on Miss Kelly, he says. Jason Thompson, who's a relatively new patron, so hello, Jason. You said nice things on Twitter as well before that. Said that Gagarin actually looks more like Alexei Leonov from the spacewalk on Vostok 2 rather than Gagarin on Vostok 1. Which is more knowledge than I could ever claim to have, Jason, and I'm sure you're right. These are the reactions to episode 1, of course, so Jason obviously knows his spacemen. Only Doctor Who, you have to be very grim about. We need some rain. And Jason also likes the fact that, yes, there's an old guy building a rocket, when, of course, at this time, rockets to the moon were, the apex of scientific achievement. And now rockets are old hat and built by an old guy in his garden. I think I've alluded to that. But I do think that's... Did I choose that as my thing? I might not have chosen that as a thing yet, have I? Because that is superb. Just the most modern thing that mankind has done. Its greatest achievement is now something people do in their potting shed. I love that. That's so Doctor Who. But what I love about the Grand Marshal, apart from the fact that I just love the story of Graham Lehman and the fact that he's one of the most prolific guest actors in the whole of Doctor Who, with 5 appearances. He was also served with Spike Milligan, and I know when they had a reunion, Graham Lehman was unable to get himself there because of his MS, so Spike Milligan took a detour to pick him up to make sure that everyone was there, and Milligan could be tricky. But what I love about the Grand Marshal is that he speaks without hissing, because the reason they hiss is because our air is not great for them. So not everybody just speaks in English and has the same speech patterns. Aliens have a reason for speaking the way that they do. So it means they have a distinctive voice. It gives the actors something different to do. It makes the monsters sound different. It means that you recognise them not just from what they look like. So that was another thing they didn't do when they brought them back. And I love the fact that they've gone to the thought of going, well, if the Grand Marshal's in their spaceship, he'll be in their own atmosphere. So he will have so that's actually what the Ice Warriors sound like. They sound like Graham Lehman. And all the others are Ice Warriors struggling with our atmosphere, wheezing, like my granddad, who only had one lung because he'd had TB. Now, I don't think that's because this paper that Michael Wisher said he'd come and done some voice stuff for Michael Ferguson, and that was his first uncredited appearance. But that sounded like John Whitty to me. And why would you get Ferguson? Why would you get Wisher? But there may be some other voices that I've missed. Is Wisher in here? Or is that just a wishful thinking on our part? And yeah, and maybe he was getting confused because he said it was with Patrick Troughton. Anyway, Michael Wisher claimed to have done something on this, and the documents I have say Michael Wisher, other voices, but is not mentioned in the paperwork. And you go, well, so you've just done that from an anecdote. But the eagle, I can't listen to this when I do these podcasts because I have to talk all the time. And if I stopped and listened, you just hear bits of the program, which may be preferable. Richard Straw says, just talk about Miss Kelly for the whole of the 6 episodes. I'd love to, Richard. The boys do like Miss Kelly. Well, I've thought of some more descriptions of her outfit, because Gary Gillett particularly liked Kinky Armadillo Gimp. Thanks, Gary. And Gary, by the way, who's also a patron, congratulations for now being executive editor of Inside Soap magazine, which, ironically, in his first issue, has a picture of me in it, because I am currently in a soap opera. Not one, sadly, that produces lots of suds and foam, which would enable me to pretend I'm in the Seeds of Death. But I came up with more titles for more descriptions of Miss Kelly. A note, by the way, for the Ice Warrior demise. Do we not? Yeah, that quick cutting is very Ferguson, and it's really, really effective. And the negative, it's just simple zip, zip, zip camera cuts and the very simple negative effect, but it's really distinctive and it really works. And I don't think I've mentioned it before. But Troughton's just on the rampage here. But there's something, as I say, there's something less offensive about that. Is interesting, isn't it? It's like people who object to people going hunting for animals, but will buy one off a supermarket shelf. We don't mind death if it's wrapped up in sanitized ways. Very interesting. What does that say about us? Oh, we're just awful hypocrites. He's got good body language, Alan Bennion. I don't think I've gone on about Alan Bennion enough. He's really, really good. And makes this part his own. His sleek body language, his excellent vocal performance, but his poise there is very, very good, and thoroughly deserves to be the person who comes back. And to play the Ice Lords, which Jay chose last week as the favourite thing, the Ice Lord. And of course, little voice rang out somewhere going, they're not actually referred to as Ice Lords anywhere in the history of Doctor Who. This is a great shot of Troughton in the foreground, and Slar and the focus pulling there. Anthony Carroll also got this from John Fitton Books and Magazines, and David Gillespie is going to dig out the VHS and watch for nostalgia. It's terrible. I actually got rid of my VHSs. Part of me wishes I'd kept them just because it's nice to have that tie with the past. I've just got a real pang. I actually gave them away, though. I was moving, and I put a thing on Facebook saying, can anybody use these? And the bloke said, well, my son's just got into Doctor Who, and he's got his own little video and telly. So he came round and I gave him 2 IKEA bags full of VHSs. I hung on to a couple for nostalgia's sake. Have I got a couple? But I didn't hang on to the Seeds of Death, I don't think. And even if I did, it'll be somewhere in the attic. But I don't think I have, which actually really saddens me now. I really needed to get rid of them, but I get really sentimental. I wasn't a massively happy kid, but little things from my childhood just, I don't know, I find it quite profound that these things, they never age nor wither, they flux nor wither, they change their state, and yet so many bits of me have fallen off and out between now and then that perhaps if I had my VHS of the Seeds of Death, it would be like a little anchor keeping me in my prime, sitting there like Peter Pan in all its unrestored glory. But Paul, that's a brilliant shot. The that mask is so good. But I do like Jay's observation that yes, the more important you get in Ice Warriorville, the more disco you get. Perhaps they just, because they're spaceships, they just have to home in on a signal. Perhaps they spend the rest of the time boogie woogieing. Somebody wrote into Doctor Who magazine asking what Troughton said then when he said there's many a slip twixt the cup and lip, which is not a saying that people use very often, but of course now it's one that is etched into my psyche. Lots of beautiful Michael Ferguson close-ups here. These are gloriously done, and it really helps with the tension. His use of camera is so inventive. Because of course these days you'd probably tell a bit of this with the spaceships. You might even see the Martians in their spaceships, but you can't. You have to do it through tension, and tension comes from close-ups on your static actors. Very good. Paul Ingerson says that no matter how hard I try, I won't beat the best review of the Seeds of Death, which is on Rec Arts Doctor Who. If you're a patron, it's under the write-up for, I think, episode 2 or 3 maybe. So check it out, because it was very, very funny. It's not from Doctor Who fans. It's very funny. Stephen White is appreciating Michael Ferguson's work, as we all are. And it's quite a simple... No, be quiet, Alexa. See, just goes to show how technology can fail us. And it's pretty harsh for the Ice Warrior fleet that the Doctor wipes out. But because he scampers about and is a bit funny, the mass murder sort of goes unnoticed. And because they're green. And yet, you know, Ogrons are no more or less humanoid, and just a simple going out of focus to kill the Grand Marshal there. But it means Graham Lehman gets to pop into Doctor Who. So he's actually in each Patrick Troughton season. Macroterra, Fury from the Deep, Seeds of Death. Well done, Graham Lehman. And yeah, he comes back for Colony and then the 3 Doctors. So he has quite a good run, but I think he then got gradually less able to work because of his MS. As I say, he's in an episode of Doomwatch on crutches. You have destroyed. So Miss Kelly's costume: armoured sex doll, tire-clad secretary, kinky woodlouse, ribbed lady shape, vulcanised love bot. Swingers Party, Aardvark Chick, and Ice Lady. There we go. Take your pick from those. Slar's reaction is it's like he's so annoyed with the Doctor, it has a physical effect on him, which Alan Bennion pulls off quite well, but there's a bit of, they are restricted in their movement, so he had to do a little bit of I'm standing, and then I love the way he sort of deflates. That really is a sort of and I seem to recall in the book of Monster of Peladon, the Ice Lord is killed by the Ice Warrior's gun in a tussle, and actually in the story he's killed with a sword. But it seemed to me that it was a Brian Halesian trope to get, to manhandle one monster in order to get it to shoot the other. But of course Brian Hales didn't actually write this episode. Well, Terrence Dicks rewrote Seeds of Death quite heavily. So maybe Terrence did it in the book because it was a Terrence Dicks trope, or maybe it was in the script, and Lenny Mayne changed it by having him killed by Azixia, killed by a guard instead. I don't know. That's a thing to find out. But I certainly know that in at the end of this and at the end of the book of Monster of Peladon, the Ice Lord is not called an Ice Lord, is killed in the same way. Patronising snail lady. I've given you enough different things for Miss Kelly. Philip Ray, he's in the Hancock 12 Angry Men episode, isn't he? I like it when the TARDIS crew just... And I'm a bit like, I'm not great at goodbyes, and I've done it before, where I've just sort of absented myself. There's a couple I regret, though. There's a lady who was really nice to me, a dresser on a plane. I got a lift back, and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to her. Nikki. Oh, dear. Anyway, but and what fascinates me about this as well is that I take these pictures so for granted because I've seen them so many times. But the very next pictures broadcast of Doctor Who, the Space Pirates Part 1, do not exist. So, separated by a week. This I've seen gazillions of times. And the next episode I've not seen at all. Nice speed for the credits, and much better than the ones... although the ones on the end of the BBC video are good because they give everyone a single caption. But the order is all over the place, as I'm sure Christopher Cole's agent would have brought up if they'd had anything about them. So there we go. That is the end of the Seeds of Death. Paul Allen comes back to design Spearhead from Space. And Horror Fang Rock. Don't think I've ever seen an interview with him. I think he's no longer with us. Next week, the Space Pirates. Not for us. Next week. I know what it is because I'm so close to transmission, as it were. Next week, everybody, is The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit. And then after that, it's Inferno. So there you go. You've got an exclusive just because I have actually recorded those, but I needed to do a Troughton first. I don't know why. I think because it doesn't matter. You don't care. You don't know. You don't need to know. This is for the historians of the future to discover. Now, listen. What's Jay? Jay has got to choose a thing about episode 6 and a thing overall. My thing about episode 6 is the fact that the Grand Marshal, and again, this is an echo of what Jay chose for episode 5. So I've lost this one. I know I've lost this one, but is the fact that I love the brilliance and attention to detail that the Grand Marshal in his own environment speaks in a different way from the Ice Warriors who are struggling to speak in our atmosphere. I love that. It's very clever. And it's just one of the little things about the Ice Warriors that just makes them slightly more rounded and thought about as monsters, which is why they're in the sort of top 5 of Doctor Who villains. So well done to them. Not villains, monsters. Monsters and villains are different. And my overall thing, I think, because I don't think I've chosen this, is the whole idea that spaceflight and landing on the moon, which is so current to the people watching the show when it went out. Doctor Who goes, that's going to be something an old man can do in his shed, and we've moved beyond that. We've got matter transportation in the future, and your brave new world you're living in. It's a quaint old thing in Doctor Who world, even though Doctor Who still has pencils and clipboards and plugs. So I love the fact that it's thinking of always of going, yeah, but even the best that we can do now in the great world of the future when they have the outlines of their pants on their trousers, when the ladies are dressed as rubber sex mollusks. Barbie crustaceans. Even in the future, in that future, where the men wear fuzzy felt and the ladies wear rubber, your rockets, your moon landings, they will be nothing. They will be quaint. They will be old-fashioned. They will be ramshackle. And I love the idea that today's spangly is tomorrow's ramshackle, because it keeps us in our place a little bit. And ramshackle Doctor Who does well. The TARDIS is the best space time ship in the world, in fiction. It's the best piece of technology in most of the stories it's in, and it looks like a shabby blue box. It's not glistening, it's not glittery, it's not sparkly, it's not spangly. It's a bit knackered, bit ramshackle, but it somehow manages to do miracles. It's a bit like us at our best. A bit like Doctor Who. Love it. Love it. So that very wheeze is my bonus thing. So Jay's going to choose 2 things. And they are...
So, number 6, I've just would like to mention the humour in the whole serial, really. Most of it from Patrick Troughton, obviously. The stuff like the foam when he falls in, I know it's unintentional, but when he falls through the door, and Wendy Padbury is like laughing, and it's just fantastic. I think that's one of those all-time great kind of TV sort of blooper moments. And all of Patrick Troughton's lines like, kill him. Oh, I suppose I could get the hang of it. And wonderfully, when he's looking to shut the door, and he goes, oh, where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. It's got a shut on it. I mean, it's just fantastic. The way he's just always going like, my word, my giddy aunt. Oh, it's just so funny. It makes me laugh so much. So yeah, the humour.
Yes, that's I love it. Well, I suppose I could get the hang of it. That's so dry and so funny. I think he goes as far as he should, and maybe slightly too far, as I say, with the hand at the end of episode 5. He's very good at falling into foam though, and sliding about, and the waddle. He's a brilliant physical comedian. But he gets quite close to the line in this story, I would say. But he's so good. He's got such gravitas. Such a good actor, and he's so intelligent. He never loses his dignity even when he's prattling about. He's so good. He's so good. I love Doctor Who. Bonus thing.
So that's number 7. I was going to talk about things like the concept of the story being old, technology being replaced by new technology. But I'm going to just have as my 7th thing the fact that everyone, apart from Miss Kelly, wears kind of funky space pants. So that's it. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, Jay, you nearly chose my thing, and instead you chose the thing that I think's worst about it, which is the funky space pants. Oh, Jay. Well, there we go. Jay and I have never met, but I love Jay on the internet, and we're Facebook friends. And I reached out, and Jay chose the Seeds of Death. Jay chose 7 things about the Seeds of Death. I think I chose one of the same things, which was the chase in episode 3. But it's not the destination; it's the journey. And unlike T-Mat, it's not a thing that takes a split second. It's a thing that has lots of different twists and turns. And I hope you enjoyed twisting and turning around the moon with me and with Miss Kelly and with Terry Scully, who also was one of my favourite things, but Jay pipped me to the post. But anyway, I enjoyed watching The Seeds of Death. I hope you enjoyed it with me. I'm sorry that currently there's lots of happy times and places and not so many too much informations, which I know are the most popular strand of this podcast. But the one I'm working on at the moment has taken twice as long because it's about the development of the Daleks, and I want to get it right. And also, as I say, my other half's not been terribly well, and I got an unexpected job, so I'm still producing material, and the next too much information is due very, very soon. But these are obviously slightly quicker to do, and I nearly didn't get these out on time. I mean, yeah, I should really be in bed because I'm working again tomorrow. So before I go to a fictional place slightly closer to Earth, but with, like the Seeds of Death, plenty of soap suds. Thank you for supporting these podcasts. As I say, apologies about too much information. I was hoping to get them out once a month, but these are slightly quicker to do. So that's why I filled gaps in the schedule with hastily recorded, but no less effort, I hope, and application put in. I'll never quite know what I think of the Seeds of Death because it's such an anomaly, because it was it was the first VHS because it was never missing, and it wasn't really written about much prior to it being on VHS either, because it was known to exist, so it was just sort of like, well, it's not a loss. We're not tantalized by it. So I don't know what I think of it. I like it. I'll never choose it as a favourite, but I don't think that's its fault, because I don't think there's much wrong with it apart from the men's costumes. And it's probably production-wise, especially with Michael Ferguson's direction, as good as any of those sort of, as I say, lost classics that we think so much about. But it's because perhaps I should go missing. Perhaps I'll be... Well, I often say that when I'm doing my stand-up. People appreciate me when I'm dead. Perhaps that's it. Perhaps it's only when people can't have you anymore that they start to appreciate you. So my ex-wives will be crying into their pillows. No. Yeah, go on. I'll have that. So I'm sorry, Seeds of Death. I think your reputation would be higher. I don't think many people dislike it, do they? It's and Jay obviously doesn't. But I think you might have benefited from doing what Peter Kay does. You know, he doesn't, the comedian Peter Kay, he doesn't do something every year. He limits the amount that we see him. And if you limit your exposure, people want you more. So what you should have done, Seeds of Death, is after you've been out on VHS, you just say, I'm not coming. Make me the last DVD. Then people will really want me and appreciate me. And I have to say, it did take on another lease of life being remastered for DVD, having had it on the only on the edited VHS, which I think I did. Did I have? I must have had an episode version, or did I? Do you know what? I'm not sure that I did. I think I'd seen it. Anyway, you don't need to get into that. But did I? Did I not have an episode? No, I must have done, because I know that Pyramids of Mars was pretty much the last, because I had the edited version of that. And I think I'd got a UK Gold version of this. Just which gave me the episode endings. Yes. Oh, I bet you're glad you knew that. How long is this goodbye? It's taking forever, especially as I'm supposed to be in a hurry. I'm going away now. I've taken long. It would have taken. You've got to the moon quicker via TMAT than I took to end this episode. But it's nice to talk to you, actually. And it's nice to know that you're there. And I hope you enjoyed that episode and that story as much as I did. I wonder if you like the Seeds of Death. I wonder if you take it for granted. I wonder if you, who are perhaps listeners who weren't of the time when it came out on VHS in edited form, and you just came to it as a story, I sort of envy you in a way, because you probably have a more rounded view of it. But then again, it was so amazing to have 6 episodes of black and white in my hand, on my shelf. Oh. Anyway, I'll see you some other time. A time that will be happy in a place that I hope will be the same. Thanks for listening. Ta-ta. In this instalment of Happy Times and Places, Jaye Butler Moore was extolling the virtues of episode 6 of The Seeds of Death. For your host, that's me, Toby Hadoke, who is indebted to patrons of this podcast series, who include Paula Reynolds, Alex Rowan, Darren Rule, Gavin Rymil, Tom Selinsky, Samuel, Edward Salt, John Sheehan, Paul Shields, Richard Smith, David Spencer, David Spofford, Adam Stone, Paul Taylor-Greaves, Jason Thompson, Sidney Trout, John Turner, Gary Wales, Alistair Wallace, Gavin Ware, Peter Ware, Kevin West, Rich Wiggins, John Williams, Sidney Wilson, Peter Harness, Rob Leonard, Stephen Moffat, Richard Straw, and Ruben Herfindahl. The music for these podcasts is composed by Dave Gates, and the artwork is by Dylan Patterson. If you would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/Toby Hadoke. There are bonus releases. All the material comes out well in advance of, if you're not a patron, now, when you're listening to this. And there are tiers where you can get other stuff, although it's fairly egalitarian. Most people get most stuff at the base level, at the entry point, which is £3 per month. And you even get 10% off that if you decide to sign up for a year in advance. However, I know times are tough, and so you could do something that costs absolutely nothing at all, which is go to iTunes or any of those places where you get these podcasts and give these 5 stars and perhaps leave some nice positive words, because that just tickles the old algorithms, and algorithms can go a bit stale if they don't have a little bit of tickling every now and again. So get your fingers out and get 'em moving up and down, and my algorithms will buzz with appreciation. I'm talking rubbish now, so I'm going to stop. Follow me on Twitter at Toby Hadoke, or these podcasts, which have their own feed at Hadoke Podcasts. Come and see me at my live comedy club every Tuesday in Manchester, UK at 8 p.m. Excess Malarkey at the Breadshed in Manchester. And if that's quite a trek, well, we also do it online. Once a month, the first Sunday of every month on twitch.tv/Excess Malarkey at 8 p.m. And that is absolutely free. There was the odd stumble there, not a classic set of outros, but if you thought they were bad, well, you should have a listen to my first attempt. Oh, go on then. And hey, look, if you can or are so inclined, check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/Toby Hadoke. There is bonus material there, there is exclusive material there, there is early material there, and there are other goodies available if you would care to become a patron, which costs as little as £3 per month, although you get 10% off that if you apply for a year in advance. Apply. That makes it sounds like it's a post that I'm going to bestow upon you. You don't have to apply. You've passed the application just by being there. But if you want to do that, that helps to keep these going, and for me to keep getting them out as quickly as I possibly can. And as I say, there are advantages to so. Beep.